Hey, what's going on guys? My name is Tanmay Sakpal and in this video, I'm gonna give you my detailed review and user experience about the new DJI Action 4 Action Cam. Let's get started. Hey, what's going on guys? My name is Tanmay. If you're new on this channel, I make a lot of tech gear reviews and content around travel and vlogging as well as camping and mostly tech educational kind of content. So if you are new on this channel and if you like such content, definitely subscribe and do turn on the notifications. Okay, so I've been using this DJI Action 4 for the last 3 weeks now, and 3 weeks might sound small, but in this short time span I've put this camera through its paces. I've took it on a travel trip and I kind of tested it in various scenarios, in vlogging, in low light, underwater, in a waterfall, etc, etc. So I'm going to show that entire footage and give you my experience of using this camera on this travel trip as well as in general. So I'm going to divide this video into 5 parts. The first part is where we talk about the basic design, the build quality as well as the specifications. The next part is very important, where we talk about the different use cases where this camera can be used. And the remaining 2 parts is gonna be whether this camera is for you and who is this camera for. And we're also gonna answer the question of who is this camera not for. And lastly, we'll conclude this video. So let's start off with the first part, which is design, build quality and specification. Now build quality wise, DJI has definitely done an amazing job. They've built this camera like a solid metal piece of chunk. It feels rugged in the hand. I'll show you some B-roll. Currently I've just put it in a case. So this is the case that comes along with the DJI package itself. So basically it comes in 2 different variants, the DJI standard combo as well as the adventure combo. I've got the adventure combo. In adventure combo you get some extra things like 3 batteries, you get a charging case, you get a selfie stick, you get a couple of extra mounts. And in the standard combo you simply get the action cam, you get that magnetic clip-on mount which you also get in the adventure combo, and you get this case. Okay, so let me just turn it off. So this is the case inside which I have put this camera. So it comes with this case which adds a bit of protection, although I don't think this action cam needs a lot of protection. It's very solidly built. It feels robust in the hand. It feels like it will take a beating, although 3 weeks is very less time and I've not even dropped it, but I think it can take a beating. Ultimately it's an action cam, that's what it's built for. The design philosophy is similar to Action 3 and Action 1, so the previous generations of DJI, where it is a typical action cam look. It has a back screen, which is the main screen on the back, which is a completely touch screen. Then on the front we have the lens itself, onto which you have some markings that says that it is 155-degree field of view. It has a f2.8 aperture and the new large sensor 1/1.3. We'll talk about that in a minute. On the front side we also have 2 microphones, and at the center in the O letter we have a color temperature sensor which is used to take a better reading of the color, especially underwater. It improves the underwater color science. Also on the front we have a fully functional dual screen, that is the front screen, through which you can operate all the settings, which is amazing and it definitely enhances the user experience. This is something that DJI's biggest competitor GoPro doesn't even have, and GoPros have been there for ages now. They still don't have a fully functional front screen which is touchscreen enabled, even on the newer Hero 12. That is one major reason why I went ahead with Action 4. So on the top you have the record button. You also have, I think, some holes for the speaker. On the right hand side you have the quick switch, which helps in toggling between multiple settings, and this is really handy. You also have the USB charging compartment over here. The door is kind of flimsy, but when you push it back in it fits flush and it feels like it's a solid door. On the right hand side you have the DJI branding as well as the battery and SD card door. It opens up on the upper side and then you pull it out. Then you also have the battery inside and you have the micro SD card. We'll talk about battery life in a minute when you talk about specifications. At the bottom you have the mounting part where you mount the magnetic clip mount, which is something that DJI has made as an innovation starting from the Action 2 itself. The Action 2 was a modular design. It also came with those magnetic clip-on mounts, but the Action 3 continued it, and the Action 3 and Action 4 have these same magnetic clip-on mounts. Just to show you on video, this is that magnetic clip-on mount onto which, you know, simply your action cam just pops in over there and you get a sound, and it's mounted onto the tripod. This is so much easier than this prongs that used to come with the GoPros. Generally the GoPro mount, this is what it used to be, and whenever you want to switch between two different tripods or two different mounts, you have to unscrew this, remove this entire setup over here and put it onto the other tripod, which is very time consuming as well as a huge hassle. Over here you simply just pull these pins and the camera just comes apart. Again, when you want to attach it, you just put it in, the magnetic effect just clamps it, and then you just press it so that the clips also attach it properly. So this is something very innovative that DJI has done, starting from the last year's model Action 3 and continued on to Action 4. Both of those magnetic clip-ons are compatible with each other. So that's about the design and overall build quality. I think DJI has really hit it out of the park. I'll give it like 8 out of 10, and I'm reserving those 2 points just because I've not put this camera through its paces in this limited amount of time. So it still has to go through a lot of wear and tear, and maybe I'll do a long-term review after 1 year to tell you guys whether it's really resistant and really rugged, and then we'll talk about build quality. So 8 out of 10. To be honest, it should be 10 out of 10, but as I said, I'm reserving 2 points because it's too early to give you that verdict. And talking about the specifications for all the nerds, I'll just list down all the specifications because we'll just quickly glance and brush through them. More importantly, the new feature on Action 4 compared to Action 3 is the larger sensor, which is 1/1.3 compared to the Action 3, which had a 1/1.7 sensor, and that translates to 30% larger sensor, which means better low light performance, better dynamic range, and all the good stuff that comes with larger sensors. So this is a significant jump because the sensor on DJI Action 4 is significantly now larger than even the GoPro Hero 12, which is its direct competitor. It's probably the biggest competitor when it comes to action cam industry. So that's a really great thing that DJI have done. Apart from that, specification wise, when it comes to video specs, you have H.264 and HEVC recording file formats, the different compression modes basically, and you have 4K up to 60 FPS. We also have slow motion in 4K up to 120 FPS. We have different aspect ratios, 4:3, we have 16:9. All the specifications are mentioned. When it comes to stabilization, we have the newer Rocksteady 3.0 and Rocksteady Plus 3.0 version electronic image stabilization, which is crazy. So the Rocksteady as well as Hyper Smooth on GoPros were already so good that you don't really see a huge incremental upgrade when it comes to stabilization because it's already so good that you don't really care anymore. But just for all the nerds out there, you have Rocksteady 3.0 on this new Action 4. I'm just trying out, I'm just walking, so obviously the stabilization is going to be great. But if I run with Rocksteady, I don't know how the stabilization is going to be, but I think it's going to be good. One cool thing is we have horizon steady as well as horizon balancing on this, and I will showcase those extra features in a separate video in detail because those are some unique features on these action cams which are supposed to be, you know, kind of explained in detail. There are other features like pre-recording, loop recording, for which I'll make separate videos just to explain those, but those are kind of niche features which are not gonna be used by every person all the time. Okay, so that's about the video specs. I think for the stills, for the photos, this is not really a photo first camera. I think it shoots 10 megapixel okay-ish photos. I've not really tested many photos, but that's not what this camera is built for. It's primarily for shooting videos. And moving on in the specifications, for the battery we have a 1770 mAh battery, which is kind of the longest lasting battery on an action cam compared to GoPros, because this one lasted for me in 4K 60 FPS 10-bit color for up to 70 to 80 minutes continuously. And the reason I know this is because during a football match, which is 1 hour long, I generally just mount this camera onto the pole or some extension over there, and I just record our footage. So it runs about 60 minutes and then it has like at least 15% more. So I'm assuming in 4K 60 FPS, which is kind of very heavy and taxing, HEVC codec and even 10-bit color, it lasted around 60 minutes with 10 to 15% to spare, and it did not overheat on me. So all these things are amazing, and kudos to DJI to pull this off. On their website they claim it lasts 180 minutes, but that is in very ideal situations in 1080p 24 fps. Nobody shoots in 1080p in 2023 anymore, right? You buy this latest and greatest camera to shoot the highest resolution. At least that's what I would do. I'm not sure about you guys. So there's that. But lasting for a whole 60 to 70 minutes continuously in the highest resolution 4K 60 fps is a massive feat without overheating. So that's great, DJI. So I can test that. That's the battery life. And these were the general and overall specifications. One thing I forgot to mention is this also has 10-bit color profile. Yes, it does 10-bit D-Log-M profile, which is the DJI's new flat profile. In Action 3, I think we had D-Cine-like, which is not as flat as D-Log-M, and D-Log-M is not as flat as the original D-Log on the expensive drones that DJI sells. But it's still flat enough that you can play around with the colors, you can push the colors, and you can get the maximum dynamic range. And if you're going for a particular look, you can definitely play around with the colors since it is 10-bit color profile. So that's really great again. So that's something that comes inbuilt with Action 4. With Action 3, it came out later with an update. So even Action 3 has 10-bit colors. So okay, so this was the design, build quality and specification, and I kind of brushed through that because that is something that you will find on the internet everywhere. You watch any other tech video which just gives you and talks in detail about the specifications, or just visit the DJI website, you'll find all the specifications that you need. What is more important is to understand that in which all situations and use cases can this camera be useful, and whether it is useful for you guys, right? So in case if you are in the market to purchase an action cam, or if you're thinking which action cam or which camera to buy, it is important to understand what this camera can do, right? Now, according to DJI, this is an action cam, but it is not just for action. This camera can certainly do a lot of things in a very amazing way, along with doing action stuff in the most epic way. Okay, so this is kind of like jack of all and king of one, that is action. That is what I think this camera is. And let's talk about some different use cases. Let's first talk about the primary use case that it is for, that is action sports. So what is action sports? Let's say you are an athlete, you are an extreme marathon runner, you are a professional swimmer, you are a scuba diver, you are a paragliding expert, you are a skiing expert, you are a skating expert. All these extreme sport athletes, let's say you are a pro biker, you are a MotoGP biker, you are a F1 racer. All these things, you're an off-road vehicle guy. You go on off-road rides and extreme situations, you're a rock climber, etc, etc. So all these extreme edge cases require cameras which are rugged enough to face all these elements and forces of nature. That is where this action cam definitely shines, because ultimately it's an action cam. It is meant to face all these environmental forces of nature. It is meant to be dropped, it is meant to be taken underwater. This camera is waterproof and it can be taken without any casing up till 18 meters deep. No normal human being like you and me are going to dive 18 meters underwater, because that is very, very deep. So for us, maybe couple of meters we'll do some snorkeling, we'll do some basic scuba diving. For normal human beings, that's more than enough. But this can go like this without any extra casing up until 18 meters, which is crazy already, right? So all sorts of action sports, you're running, you're a marathon runner, you're a sprinter, you have amazing stabilization, a Rocksteady Plus, which makes the footage look like it is shooting on a gimbal, even though if you're in a very rugged environment. Let's say you're off-roading on a bike, you're off-roading on a cycle, on a bicycle, even then the footage will turn out to be much more stable. So I'm not a pro athlete, I'm not someone who falls into this category, but if you do, you can still buy this action cam. So that's the first use case. Now this first use case, as I said, was an edge case. Not many of us fall into this category, but let's come to a more general category where we talk about vlogging. So vlogging has become like a mainstream thing. Everybody with the smartphone is also vlogging nowadays. Everybody with a camera can vlog, can shoot content about whatever they like. Maybe you are a chef, maybe you are a trainer, maybe you are an educator, maybe you are a travel enthusiast and you just want to share your experiences. That's what I generally do on this channel as well. I like to share my travel vlogs, I like to talk about travel, shoot some cinematic content. So this camera can be a companion because it is so tiny, it will simply fit in your pocket, and since it is rugged enough, you don't have to be worried about getting it damaged also, and it's lightweight. You simply point towards yourself and you just start talking. It's a simple vlogging camera. It also has the front screen where you can see yourself while framing the shot. You can even control all the different elements and all the settings on the front screen itself. Maybe you're pointing it towards someone else and you're looking at the back screen. You have two different screens to monitor the content. Maybe you're just shooting videos of your children playing in the garden. Maybe you're shooting a video of your pet running in the garden, running in the ground. That's what I did with my pet Shiro. You can see some content. All sorts of basic general vlogging. Let's say you're going shopping and you want to show what you're shopping. You can simply carry this in your pocket, and in the supermarket no one will notice. Just get it out. You can literally handhold it, and the field of view is so wide that you don't even need a tripod. Let me just quickly turn it on and show it to you. I'll just handhold it like this. I'm not even going to use a tripod. So just hand holding it, you guys can see how much you can see in the shot. I've not even extended my arm out completely, and I'm still in the entire shot. You guys can see the setup that I have over here, and it's so easy to just talk to it. You guys are now listening to the internal microphones, which are pretty good because they are facing you. There are two microphones facing you, and I think there is one more on the top, so that's really great for the audio. And it's very easy, I can see myself in the screen. So I just showed you an impromptu example of just pointing this camera towards you, and you can start talking to it, start vlogging and start sharing your experiences. So pretty much everyday vloggers, travel enthusiasts who like to go on hiking, who like to do a little bit of adventure, who like to go off-roading, who are probably out and about cycling, or you're going on a long trip, car drive with your friends, you guys can take this camera and explore the entire world. So that is the second category, where pretty much all of us are included in that category. Whoever is wanting to share some kind of content in a less hassle-free way. The reason why I say less hassle-free is because when you invest into a dedicated mirrorless camera, let's say you buy a full frame camera or a APS-C camera, that comes with a lot of care, that is very expensive, that is not as rugged as this camera. It can break, you can probably get it scratched, get it damaged. You'll be constantly worried about carrying that on your travel trips. Even till date, I've not invested in a full frame or a mirrorless camera, although I do want to, because that is something that I want to do in future. And as a tech gadget and nerd, as a camera enthusiast, I really want to own a personal camera for myself. But carrying that on travel trips is much more difficult compared to carrying a simple action cam, and this is very inconspicuous. Nobody's gonna turn heads and nobody's gonna notice when you're vlogging. But if you take a full frame camera in your hand and start vlogging on that, it's surely gonna turn a lot of heads. So that is one major category of people who may be interested, who may benefit from this tiny action cam. Okay, so now that we've talked about who this camera is for, which is pretty much everybody who wants to simply shoot some basic amateur content, let's talk about who this camera is not for. Let's say if you are a cinematographer or videographer and you are taking big projects where the image quality and a certain kind of image look is required, then this action cam might not serve the purpose. Even though it is a video recording camera, it is no way in comparison with the dedicated full frame or mirrorless cameras, which have huge sensors and different kind of image look. Okay, so you can't compare directly this tiny camera to those cameras. So if you're a professional who wants a particular camera for certain use cases, I'll give you an edge case scenario where let's say you are a wildlife enthusiast now and you want to do wildlife photography and videography. This camera is not gonna be able to shoot wildlife because it doesn't have that zooming capabilities. But if you buy a APS-C or a full frame camera with a lens that is having a higher focal length, let's say 200 to 600 millimeters like a Sony lens, so that one is dedicated for wildlife. So in that case, that lens makes sense, that camera makes sense for wildlife videography, right? This is not going to do that. Another edge case scenario is, let's say you shoot a lot of low light content. Low light means you shoot a lot of videos, but outdoor videos in the night or videos in artificial light. In that case, this camera, even though it has a larger sensor that is 1/1.3 compared to its previous generation, it's still a very tiny sensor relative to the other dedicated cameras that I mentioned, like a 1-inch sensor or a APS-C sensor, which is pretty big, or even a full frame sensor, which is much more larger compared to this tiny action cam. Okay, this one is not gonna be good in extreme low lights. It can do decent, you can shoot amateur content, but if you want that professional look in low light, or as I said, you do a lot of low light photography, videography, then this camera is not for you. But this is how you can expect the low light performance, especially in city areas. So we have a lot of artificial light, but that's what you can expect. Now this is not a completely low light situation, it's still well lit by artificial lights. As I said, there's a lot of noise, so you can also get an understanding of how the internal microphones are working on board on this camera. So you guys let me know how the audio is coming. These are some very edge cases, very limited cases where this action cam is not gonna be suitable for you, but everyday, day-to-day video recording, this camera is more than enough. In good daylight situation, in basic vlogging situation, and in situation where you cannot put a full frame camera, you can literally mount this camera anywhere. You can just simply put it on a fridge, you can put it inside a shelf, you can put it inside your fridge, you can throw this around over here and there, and you don't have to be worried about getting it damaged. You can get those low angles, you can get those weird angles, you can put it inside or underwater. I've done that. You can see a footage where I am literally inside a waterfall and I'm shooting, and the water is impacting the camera directly, but there's no issues. The camera can withstand 18-meter deep water, so handling a basic waterfall is a piece of cake for this camera. So all those things you can do, a lot of creative things you can do on this. You have features like hyperlapse, you have features like time lapse. I'll show you a time lapse that I shot. I still have to shoot a hyperlapse, and I still have to use a lot of other features. There are some unique features like pre-recording, where it shoots a little bit of video even before you press the video. So let's say you're shooting a vlog, you're talking to the camera, and something happens in the background. Let's say a cute animal just shows up, and before you hit record, it just runs away, right? If you had the pre-recording turned on, it will record that video for certain seconds already, even before you press the button. So you can be rest assured that the shot has been captured by this camera. So that's crazy. This also has loop recording, which means that it can be used like a security cam or a dash cam kind of situation. Another very cool feature that I forgot to mention is that you can also use this as a webcam. The moment you connect this to your PC or your Mac, there are two options that pop up, and one of them is dedicated webcam mode, and once you select that, you don't even have to install any dedicated software, or you don't have to do any steps. It will directly show as a webcam on any of your softwares. So if you're doing a Zoom meeting or if you're doing a video call, it will directly show as a webcam. So that is amazing, right? So this also enhances the user experience, the quality of life kind of features which come in handy. So kudos to DJI to including all those features as well, even though they didn't need to put the webcam feature or many other features, but they've still crammed all those things over here. So they make this an all-round action cam that does a lot more than action. And that's the whole crux of this video. This action cam is not just for action, but pretty much everything that most of us do, and hence I highly recommend this camera in case you're looking for a tiny camera which you want to shoot amateur content, vlog, some cinematic stuff as well, by the way, because it does shoot 10-bit color, D-Log, flat profile. You can color grade it and give it a certain look, match it with other cameras, so you can do that especially in good lighting conditions. So there's that. Alright, I've been praising a lot, and are there any drawbacks to this camera? Yes, as I mentioned, there are some use cases, some edge cases where this camera might not be suitable for you. I've already mentioned that. So apart from that, I think this camera is amazing, and I'm really gonna put this to the paces. Fun fact, the video that I'm shooting on is the DJI Pocket 2, which is another DJI product, fantastic product, and I've been using that as my A camera for all these years. And I also have the DJI drone. Kind of a DJI fanboy, aren't I? Maybe I should contact DJI for some sponsors. I mean, DJI, if you really want to do that, I'm all in for that. Alright, so that's it for this video, guys. I know this video is a little lengthy, but I had to explain to you all the different aspects about this camera. more importantly who this camera is for and the different use cases that you can use this camera in. And if you like this video, definitely let me know in the comments. Do hit the thumbs up button, do subscribe if you're new on this channel, and let me know what all things you want to know more about this action cam. There are some crazy features that it has and I still have to explore them, and I still have to talk about some more features as well as some settings and some things that you can do. I still haven't shown you how to operate this camera. Maybe I can do that video as well. You guys let me know in the comments what you want to know, and I'll try to do that. Alright, I'm gonna wrap this video up over here. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Peace.